Namaste. This is Yoga Therapy Podcast, and I'm your host, Shira Cohen, yoga teacher, yoga therapist, and Ayurvedic wellness educator. In these conversations with experts in the field of yoga therapy, you'll find out what it is and how it can help you and your loved ones to reclaim well-being. We'll touch on physical as well as mental health, physiology, emotions, women's health, spiritual well-being, goddesses, and self-development in the fullest sense. Listening to another story can change ours, so thank you for showing up, and let's begin this journey together. So hello everyone. Today I'm doing a solo again, and I just want to welcome you all. It's been really great seeing the podcast growing, and there's so many people joining every month. It's really exciting for me, and I love doing this. So thanks for being here, and just show your support with some stars. That'd be great on Apple. So today we're talking about anxiety, depression, especially as biological health. So I found some very interesting articles over the last few weeks because I'm already preparing for my second book. So the first one isn't out yet, but I'm already so excited about this second book because it's something very close to my heart, because I've basically been dealing with depression, anxiety since I was a young teenager. So I'm just going to read the article that I've written. I'll try to be as natural as possible, so it's not just me reading. But I want to get clarity and not miss any important points, and I might do that if I just riff off. So you have to see our body and brain, feelings and thoughts as an ecosystem to understand that depression and anxiety are actually our system, this organism, telling us that there's something wrong, not just with the individual, but with our society or where we are living in. So like any ecosystem, a body needs movement, it needs diversity, it needs fresh air, and that constant adaptation and change and renewal to the circumstances and the context of now. When these prerequisites exist, so does biological and mental health. Disease, and if the way I've written it is dis-ease. It's not at ease, okay? It's not an illness. It's just saying we are not at ease. So you can see it like that. That's why in my book as well, and every time I write anything saying disease, it's split with a hyphen, because it is not an illness. It is just that we are not at ease, and you want to find the way back to ease. And that's what yoga therapy does so well, because we look at all these layers. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you my story short. Managing my depression and anxiety since I was about age 15 with yoga, meditation, and breathing. Later, postnatal depression needed me to find Ayurvedic guidance to accommodate the new lifestyle patterns that I had. Of course, with a child, everything changes. So then perimenopause and burnout required me to integrate neuroscience, psychology, emotional, hormonal, and biological health to bring back the balance to this ever-changing ecosystem. So we are an ecosystem. Where we live is an ecosystem. Our family is an ecosystem. And so things are constantly changing. And so we also need to change. And depression usually occurs because we feel that the demands being made on us, whether that's emotional, mental, energetic, physical, physiological, psychological, or societal, are too great for us, and we can't surmount it, okay? But we have to work with all these layers for depression, anxiety, and trauma to be shifted. And for that to happen, we have to put in daily work for the rest of our life, because life is change and life is movement. And if we don't adapt, yes, we will get depressed, okay? So one article I was reading that was well researched, it was a meta-analysis, was about mental health as biological health. Depression and anxiety are symptoms of societal threat, not individual illness. Studies of primates in the wild where depressed individuals were removed from the group led to the death of the entire group within 6 months. What do depressed individuals contribute to a society that productive members can't? Well, first of all, social, emotional, psychological, and physiological sensitivity. So picking up on social and emotional cues, these sensitive, depressed primates, they picked up on psychological signals that no one else could see. They picked up on physiological signals like what they were eating wasn't good for them, and physical threats, which increased their survival by preventing biological harm. And it brought back the balance after traumatic events. And look for that contact, the physical contact, which then again brought back the physiological balance in their bodies. So mental health conditions are expressions of biopsychosocial imbalances. Biological anthropologists argue depression, anxiety, and PTSD are responses to adversity rather than pathology or chemical imbalances. Though I don't advocate not taking prescription drugs, medical science has never been able to prove mental conditions are due to chemical imbalances. 1/3 of patients administered antidepressants see no improvement. And the worldwide increase of antidepressant intake and at the same time an increase of depression, anxiety, and PTSD reveal that there's no correlation between prescription drugs and mental health. So instead, we can see depression as an asset. Doctors know mental health is dependent on biopsychosocial factors, and an interconnection that's too complex to address in one of these short doctor visits leaves them with little choice but prescription drugs until better treatment comes along that's been tried, tested, and treats. Okay, so because prescription drugs have been tried, tested, and treat some people, it's being marketed as the answer. Psychiatry has been slow to adopt evolutionary models, but that's changing thanks to evolutionary psychology. On closer inspection, research points to systemic inflammation as a major contributor of depression, meaning inflammation of the entire body, its tissues, organs, and even the brain. Depression is a sign that something is seriously wrong in our lives, maybe our physical health, relationships, work, culture, all making demands that we feel completely incapable of meeting. We withdraw and feel unable to cope with daily life. Evolutionary psychology sees depression, self-harm, and suicide as attempts to elicit support from those close to us. Depending on cultural beliefs, acceptance or rejection of this behavior determines whether shame and guilt are also internalized. Labels affect how we feel and think about ourselves, and they further influence our behavior and beliefs. Labeling and stigma further paralyze us. Associated shame and guilt exacerbate this state. So, evolutionary psychologists recognize the importance of the individual for creating an effective long-term treatment plan, including social, emotional, psychological, physiological, and nutritional factors, is what yoga therapy does so well. Okay, so that's how yoga therapy is different, because it does look at all these layers of self and everything that contributes to it. We look at the factors of our life that contribute to well-being, joy, feelings of belonging, so important as a social species, as well as seeking out which factors trigger stress, emotional overwhelm, and feelings of isolation. So the things that aggravate and trigger us and trigger depression or depressed and anxious states. So anxiety and depression are often interlinked. If we're moving out of our depression, there's a lot of anxiety because all the emotions and all the thoughts and the fears arise. And the same when we're moving from a balanced state into depression, there's also anxiety. And some people can't cope with the anxiety, so they shut down. And depression is just a shutdown of energy. So depressed or anxious states are internalization and withdrawal of energy from external activity to internalized activity, okay? Because depression is you're thinking, you're doing all this stuff within yourself, within your body, your mind. You're keeping yourself busy. but you don't actually act on it. So it's the fact that you act that stops the anxiety, because we're thinking we have to do all these things, but never doing it just makes us feel even less competent. Okay, because energy needs to move through a body. When it's trapped, it becomes condensed, heavy, and it pulls us down. Suppressed energy leads to excessive internal movement without any external action, which then becomes mental rumination, restlessness, distracting activities to avoid facing our inner dissatisfaction or maybe our inner fears and doubts. And then we have this paralyzing perfectionism where we don't actually act until we believe we've got it just perfect. These are all coping mechanisms to not feel the shame or guilt, the isolation, and in extreme cases, self-loathing that start to develop because we're in a depressed state or an anxious state too long, and we feel kind of debilitated by it. So depression can start at any level of experience. So when I'm talking about these levels of experience, it's the koshas, so the physical, the mental, the energetic, or physiological, the psychological, the emotional, and if you want, spiritual. So it can happen at any of these levels. And because these bodies, they're all connected, they all speak to each other. You can see it like a cup in a bowl, and that bowl in a big, what would you call that? Basin, and that basin into a pool. And they all flow into and out of each other. They're different bodies within each other. And so when one becomes out of balance, when one has this depressed, pulling down energy, it's going to affect all the other bodies. Okay, it's a bi-directional pathway. So disease stems either from psychological factors, which then affect biology over those layers, or it's initiated by physical factors such as injury or chronic pain. And then our life becomes limited, like we were talking about with Laura. And from that, it develops into psychological unease and disease. Okay, so psychological and emotional overwhelm can be due to difficult relationships. Lack of communication skills makes our relationships very difficult if we don't know how to speak our needs or to tell our truth, even though it's not in harmony with the person we love. We have to be able to say that. Otherwise, we're always stressed because we're always accommodating someone else. Or the other way around, we could be overriding someone else's feelings constantly because they can't communicate. And so then there's stress because that person doesn't feel good around us. So social stress, lack of access to better work and education leads to feeling incompetent. And then we avoid situations which exacerbate those feelings and beliefs about ourselves, which then escalate also into physiological withdrawal. If chronic, this becomes biological, depressed ecosystems. And then you can see it from the physical side, like I just said before, injuries, chronic pain, or just lack of financial and nutritional resources prevents those healthy building blocks essential for that organic health in our body. And that organic biological health then affects physiology. Physiology is moods, energy, emotion, our ability to meet the day. So when we wake up or when we go to sleep, maybe we can't sleep. So our physiology, and that then predisposes us to biological disease with the hyphen. So inflammation occurs, physiological and chemical imbalances occur, and that then affects the neurological and psychological health, mental health. So you can see that, yes, there's a chemical imbalance, but we're not helping it by taking serotonin uptakers, because it just means you can do things like exercise. If you do strenuous, strong exercise that pumps and really moves the gut, you're going to start to be able to create your own serotonin, or eating more eggs or foods that have serotonin. So these are ways we create chemical imbalance, and then the body can produce it itself rather than becoming dependent on a drug that is going to do the thing that we can actually already do. So yoga therapy looks at all these layers and it tries to find the root cause and which layer that was in, because that is going to be the deeper exacerbator. But maybe that's not the one we need to focus on straight away. Maybe we need to actually work first. So if it started psychological because of emotional and relational issues, we don't go there straight away. We want to also look what's happening on the physical level. Let's start with that, because that's a later development, so that's easier to treat. And then we work our way to the deeper issues once the person feels a little stronger, more integrated, more safe, once you've built up a rapport with that client or person, because then they're in that safety and that trust. Remember, we are social beings, so that we need that someone, and to feel good with that someone, that increases the chances of healing deeply. Okay, so yoga therapy looks at all these layers and which layers have also been affected. So maybe not all layers get affected. Sometimes it just stops, or their person turns up early because they notice things. They're just more sensitive, so they're more preventative. And we can only support through investigation and integration, like I just said. Otherwise, people end up self-medicating and self-regulating. Like I spent the first, God knows how long, 20 years just self-regulating and self-medicating when I was younger. But the yoga, it gave me a sense of physical and emotional control over the anxiety. And because I was doing it in the morning, it got me out of my depression. So I got enough cortisol going in the mornings to give me that get up and go. And it makes you enthusiastic. And if I didn't do yoga every day, if I missed it, especially when I was younger, if I missed it for 1 or 2 days, if I missed it one day, that was okay. The next day, I wouldn't want to do the practice. So you get that tamasic state. If I missed it for a few days, I would actually notice that my mood and my emotions would be dysregulated, and I would get irritated quicker and get into a depression. So shut down that energy because I couldn't deal with, for me, it was mainly social. So where was I? Yes, self-regulating and self-medicating. Mental health conditions are a major global burden, yet research is not going into this field. There's not enough research being done. There's actually a crisis in this field. Crisis meaning not at all any interest or look or funding. So depression is the major cause of substance abuse. A lot of people who are depressed will just drink or take other drugs, any kind of stimulant or what do you call that, depressant, that'll make them be able to deal with whatever it is that's going on. Actually, they're not dealing with it, they're just avoiding it, they're overriding those feelings. So psychological, neurological imbalance and substance abuse have increased in the last 30 years, causing years lost to illness, burden, disability, and death. So disability burden is when people, because they have become alcoholic or addicted to other drugs or just using substances, it can even be coffee and sugar, and just not getting off the sofa and staying stuck because you can't face or don't know how to deal with daily life. The disability burden due to mental health accounts to 34% worldwide. So that's huge. This should be enough to get researchers looking for answers, real answers, instead of just short-term symptom relief, which is what most prescription drugs actually do. Okay, so here we have the tools, okay? Tools for overcoming depression and dealing with the anxiety that's associated with it. Think about it, genetics only influences our mental health by 2%, so that's nothing. That means epigenetics, which is our environment, the way we look after ourselves, our habits and patterns, accounts for 98%, so nearly all of it. That means it's all in our hands, and we're just as likely to inherit habits as genes. Okay, so a lot of people say, oh, it's genetic, my mother also has it, but your mother has also taught you, or your father. I'm not blaming mothers. I love mothers. You've also learned from your family the habits of how you eat, what you eat, when you go to sleep. Most of us continue to do that to some degree. So that's why we are predisposed to having the same diseases as our family and parents. So what this means, that it means that we can determine a lot how we feel and how we live. It's in our hands when we know what to do, why, and how. Okay, so I'm going to explain the what and the how. Yeah, so especially important for depression, anxiety, and PTSD is reattuning to our natural sleep-wake cycle, our eating patterns and movement needs for this healthy organism. Okay, so what I'm mainly focused on is emotions, because I'm a very emotional person, and understanding what those emotions are telling us and which hormones are out of balance, and therefore we can use biology, chemistry to bring us back into balance without using, obviously, recreational drugs and other things like sugar, which are also highly addictive. So emotions can show us what energetic state we're in. Is the energy moving down? Is it moving up? Is it moving out? Is it internalizing and becoming very strong, like fire or a volcano? This reveals to us which hormones are at play. So you can look it up, which is a whole other ball game that I've been going into the last 3 years, which gives us then clues to the biology behind our state. Once we correct the biology, we attune our mentality and psychology as well. We can do this through many things, especially when we're looking at yoga therapy, understanding the Ayurvedic principles of energy and the body and these layers. So we can do many things to alleviate our biological responses to the adversities of current life. So current life meaning just all the stress that people have to deal with on a daily level. Reducing physical, physiological, emotional, mental, and psychological stress. First thing that we need to start this process is self-compassion. So that's why I read all this out, because I want people to understand that depression is not an illness. It is not a disease. It's not a disorder. It is just a very clear sign that something is wrong, and not with the individual, but with our society. It's a natural reaction. So through that, you can have self-compassion. You can look at yourself and go, oh, I'm actually very normal. Yeah, and you're just a more sensitive type. And so you pick up on these cues that most people are not busy with. They're more resilient. And I don't even know if it's resilience. That's just a very hyped up term right now. So it's not even resilient. They're just more focused on something much more physical. They don't have that sensitivity. If you look at some of the most amazing works of music or written works or artistic, anything that's creative, it is from very emotional, sensitive people. Without these people, we don't have these beautiful things. Okay, so you're just as valid as anyone else. So self-compassion is the first thing. Just look at the ways that your sensitivity and your ability to pick up threats or things that are not right is not a fault or a weakness. It's only because of the culture we live in that it's seen in that light. But if we can start to change and shift the light to it actually being a power, that is so empowering for you. So the first thing is self-compassion. We will do something for self-compassion in a minute. Okay. The second thing is building confidence. We'll do a mudra for that. And the third thing is to commit to yourself to overcome this no matter what. Okay, so you can overcome it, but it does require effort, and it does require daily effort for the rest of your life. And sure, you can skip 1 or 2 days a week for the rest of your life, but don't make it more than that, because the body is slow and heavy. I think I've told this before in one of the kosha talks. And so when you don't move that body or don't do the practices or don't do the exercise, that slowness and heaviness will start to move into physiology and emotions, then mind, psychology, so on and so on. So moving through those filters. So you've always got the choice. Am I going upstream or downstream? You can only, there is always a stream. Life is a stream. Your body, this ecosystem is a stream, and you have two choices. And if you choose the downstream just because you can't be bothered, it's still work. Life is even more work because it's not fun at that level. Okay. Sorry to get on my soapbox. Write down your intention. Okay. So when you make that third point, the commitment to yourself, you are worth it. Just as much as you love your children or your partner or your parents or whoever it is, you are just as wonderful and lovable. Okay. And then write down the intention. Why are you worth it? What are you going to feel? Yeah. What are you going to feel when you stick to something that's going to actually step by step make your life and yourself better? What benefits will it give you? Why is that worth it to have those benefits? How will it change your life, your daily life? What would life look like? How will you wake up? So really see those things and write them down, and then stick it on a stick-it note, one of those post-its. Stick it on your mirror, in your kitchen, wherever you're working, just to remind you, okay, every day, why would you do this? So you need that motivation, okay, in depression, because that's that downward heavy movement of energy. You want to have something simple, easy, and uplifting, very quick, okay? And the fourth thing you want to do is do the actions. So don't just know why, what you got to do and why. Do it. Do it daily and live well. Then you live well. Okay, so I'm just going to do this practice with you. It's a short practice. You can be sitting on the floor, on a chair, on the bed, whatever's comfortable for you or wherever you are right now. And if you're sitting on a chair, just move to the edge of the chair. So for self-compassion, it's really hard to feel self-compassion or a kind of good feeling for yourself when the body doesn't even feel good. So first, we are physical. Being physical, a lot of the time being depressed, we're not even in our body, we're just in our head. Okay, so we just get stuck in the mental body constantly. So we want to just do a quick movement like we've done with, I think it was Laura. Did we do it with Laura? No, we did it with Tyler last week, and we did it with Stephanie Muna. So it's the Pawan Mukt, the energy freeing series. It's very easy. You can do it in 5 minutes, and it just gets everything moving. So make sure that your arms, your legs, and your body have space, sitting right at the edge with your sitting bones, just taking a moment to feel the body, feel the breath. And because we're talking about depression, we're not going to stay too long in like feeling and internalizing, because the thoughts will just activate very quickly. So just making sure that your spine is straight. And then we're going to breathe in, lift that chin up, breathing out, bringing the chin to the chest. And we'll just do that 3 times. So each thing we'll do it 3 times. Breathing in, lift up, and breathing out, chin to the chest. One last time, breathing in, lifting up your chin, and breathing out, bringing the chin to the chest. And come back to neutral. And just feeling the skin of your neck, and let the skin of the neck go towards the crown of the head so that there's length, bringing the chin slightly in. Imagine your head is held by 2 hands. You can actually lean the whole body slightly backwards, and then just move forward on the chair. So you're moving the whole spine and the head forward and backwards, and then find that middle, okay? So that you've got this nice middle space. Okay, you should feel a lightness when you're in that middle. That's a good indicator. Okay, so now from here, we're going to turn our chin towards the right shoulder. And breathing in, coming back, breathing out to the left shoulder. Breathing in, come back to center again, to the right shoulder. Look right with your eyes. Breathing in, come back. Breathing out to the left, look left. Come back to center one more time to the right. Look right. And breathing in to the left. As you breathe out, come back to center with an in-breath. Okay, and just feel the neck, feel the spine, the cervical spine. Breathe into that. Now we're going to bring our right ear to the right shoulder, breathing out. As you breathe in, just lifting the head back to center, and then breathing out to the other side and back to center. Breathing out to the right, breathing in, coming back, breathing out to the left. Come back to middle. And again, feel the neck, feel the throat, feel your body, feel the muscles even, and the chest. Now bringing your fingertips on your shoulders, we're going to rotate those elbows, making big circles, just drawing circles. So 3 times, breathing in, lifting up, breathing out, coming down, breathing in, lift up the chest, opening the whole of the upper body, and then change directions. Breathing in, lift up, out, move those elbows back and down, breathing in, and out. One last time, lifting up and coming back down. Now from here, have the elbows wide, pointing out to the sides, and then arms nice and wide. And just do this 3 times, breathing out, fingertips to shoulders, breathing in, opening those arms. Okay, so now we're, like we said with Tyler last week, so we're pumping those arms. One last one, breathing in and out. Come back to center. Just feel the shoulder joints now. So we're moving through all the joints basically from the body. We say in yoga philosophy that energy and breath get stuck in the joints. If they don't move fully, especially if we don't use that full range of movement, the energy, the physiology, the hormones, all this gets stuck. Okay, and so we're moving it through. And now I just want you to extend your arms in front of you, and you're going to open those palms and close them. Breathing in, open, breathing out, close. Just 3 times. One more. And out. And in. And out. Okay. So now we've done the whole upper body. We're going to do the spine. Breathing in, just lifting up your chest now, rounding or arching your back. And as you breathe out, round the back now. Bringing the chin to the chest and your heart towards your thighs. Breathing in, lift up, really arch your back. Breathing out. One more time, breathing in, lift up, really opening so your spine is getting this flexation and extension, and come back to middle. Okay, so now bringing your hands behind your head, interlocking those fingers, and as you breathe out, you're going to just bend laterally, so you're bringing your right elbow down to the right side, and breathing in, come back up. Breathing out to the left, and again 3 times each side. Breathing in, come back. Breathing out, and in, and out, and in. Come back to center. Keeping your hands here, just feel the spine, breathe through the spine, the neck, the face, the arms, the shoulders, and just feel. Take a pause. And then we're going to twist. So stay keeping your feet here, your hips where they are, just twisting the upper body from the waist. And breathing in, come back. Breathing out, twist to the other side, to your left or right, whichever you've done first. Second, breathing out again to the opposite side, just feeling the ribs and the chest opening. Come back and to the other side. Come back. And that's it. That's the whole upper body. And just feel now the flow of your body. Notice the quality of the body, the physical body or the physiological body of the upper, so from the head down to the hips, and then the lower body, so your feet up to the hips. And notice if the flow or the sensations within the body has a different kind of quality, color, flow, movement, shape, If you're very visual, you'll see shapes and colors. Okay. And if you're not so visual, you're sensual, you'll feel that difference, the quality. So now we'll do the lower legs. Okay, so we did last time, what was it? Let's just sit here. And as you breathe in, lift up your right knee, breathing out, bring it down. Left knee and change. Bring in right, up and down. So this is also good for the serotonin because you're putting pressure on the belly. Okay, we're using just the hip, a little bit the knee, but not too much, and coming back to center. Okay, so now here we're sitting, if you're sitting on a chair, if you're sitting on the floor, I want you to place your hands underneath your thigh, your right thigh, and then just lift up that leg, straightening the knee. So if you're sitting on a chair, just straighten the knee. You can put the hands underneath and then change. But you don't need to use those hands. Okay? And again, breathing in, lift up. Breathing out, come back down. Keep lifting the chest, breathing in, lift up. So if you're sitting on the floor, it's a little harder to keep the chest and ribs lifted. One more time each side. Breathing in, lift up. And as you breathe out, slowly bring it down. Now we're doing the big thigh muscles. And then we're going to extend the legs. Straighten the legs. If you're sitting down on the floor, just have them straight out in front of you. And then we're going to breathe in, bring the toes to us, the feet to us. As you breathe out, point those toes. And just do that 3 times. Breathing in, lift up. If you need, use your hands on the side so you can keep lifting the chest. Breathing out, extending the toes. Breathing in, lift up. And out, back down. And that's it. So you've done the whole body. Just take a moment to sit here to feel the flow from your feet, through your legs, into the upper body, the face, the head, the neck, the arms. And just feel compassion for yourself. It's a little easier to be with yourself when the body feels more relaxed and integrated. Okay, otherwise it can feel like there's many aspects of ourselves that are all over the place. Now do a body scan, just feeling, breathing in through the feet, up through the legs, through the spine, to the crown of the head. Saying to yourself, I am here. And as you breathe out, saying to yourself, the mind is clear. Just see the clarity in your mind. Even if it's just that 1 second that you have this space where there's no thoughts, the more you look into your mind and actually wait for thoughts to pop up, the more it's going to be quiet because you're paying attention. So it just wants you to pay attention. Okay? So now you've got this feeling of clarity in the mind. And you can just keep moving back to that. So never make your practice so long that you start meditating on mental rumination. If you start to think, stop the practice, walk away, do something else. Okay, only stay as long as it feels good. So now what we're going to do is a mudra, hand gesture. So we say in our hands we have a lot of energy. Our mind is brain is very strongly connected to the hand. So there's a lot of electricity moving there all the time. And therefore, we're losing that electricity if we don't channel it back into the body or through writing or drawing or something manual that we're doing with those hands. It's just free flow of energy out to the universe and not being used for anything. Okay, so we want to channel that back, and we do that with mudras. So here you want to bring both palms facing towards each other. Now all the fingertips touching, the thumb as well, and then you open your palms away from each other. So you're making this kind of triangle shape, and you just hold it in front of your heart. So this is a mudra to build confidence. Okay, so we're going to stay here for 5 breaths. We're going to count in for 5, hold the breath for 5, and then breathe out for 5. The reason we're doing this is a wonderful gesture, hand gesture that connects the right and left brain hemispheres. This is really good to activate connection, integration, but also to disconnect from patterns that are not healthy or beneficial for us. So it's really good to use when we do have addictions or when we do have addictive thought patterns, like the inner critic or any negative ruminations that we have. So this is a great one. It is used, like if you watch business people, they often use this gesture when they're talking because it gives that confidence. Okay, so what you want to do is that self-compassion, build confidence, have your intention. And then on my blog, there's like a whole load of other ideas and ways that you can work with those 5 different layers of self to move out of your depressed or anxious states or traumas into a more integrated self. But we'll just end with this practice, okay? So holding those fingers as they are, take a deep breath in. As you breathe out through the mouth, just release any tension. So you can do that 3 times if you feel tension inside. One more. And just allow the breath to arise. Follow its natural in-breath and out-breath. So the in-breath is activating, the out-breath is calming. To hold the in-breath is also calming. That's why it's very good for confidence. This makes the mind kind of clear and calm. But at the same time, you're using that in-breath to give you this feeling of fullness. Okay, so let's begin. Just take a breath out for wherever you are. Breathing out. And I'll count. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing in. Hold the breath in. And breathing out. Breathing in. Hold the breath in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Hold the breath in. Breathing out. Last round, breathing in. Hold the breath in. Breathing out. Release the hands and just sit for a moment and feel the effects. Notice how you feel in your chest. Notice the kind of energetic statement the body has, the mind. Notice how you feel energetically, physiologically, your mood, the mind. So you always want to check what a practice does. Okay, and then you can apply it to the right time. So if you're doing this at night, maybe not such a good idea, probably better in the morning or early afternoon. Or if you have a speech or something like that to do, something that makes you nervous and you need this kind of confidence and charge. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave comments, leave reviews, let me know what you're thinking and needing, because I love to be needed. My codependent behaviors. No. Okay, so thank you for being here. Thank you for staying to the end. I'll leave the blog a link in the show notes. And I'm sorry I'm a bit late. I have a lot to do at the moment with this book coming to an end. I'm nearly there, so I'm very excited. Okay, be well. Much love. Bye. And if you want to know more, just take a look in the show notes. There's plenty of links and ways to connect with either the guest or myself. If you want to work with us or find out more about us, just check out the information in the show notes. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and you'll be hearing from me next week.